Hello everyone from Chelsea Fan TV. I hope you're all doing very, very well. I'm here outside Stamford Bridge today after a 0-0 against Crystal Palace in the Premier League. And listen, a lot of people are obviously underwhelmed. We expected more. We expected 3 points. We didn't get that, but we didn't lose. We got a point. Could be a lot worse. And as I've been saying to a number of people, I've seen a lot worse. So for those people who are panicking, I don't think it's quite that time yet, but I think there's certainly things that we can address and we can say we need to certainly focus on certain points. I think we'll start off on the one that's been made very clear and public, which was Colwell being injured, the centre-back issue. All right, Maresca's spoken a lot about that. He wants a centre-back who can play out from the middle, pick those passes into midfield, and essentially get the ball rolling when we play out. I actually thought Achimpong did a good job today, but I can appreciate that it's not the same profile as a Colwell, as a Tosser. I think it's a different profile that we're looking in there. So defensively, again, you look at the clean sheet, you say, Alex, what are we complaining about with the centre-back? But it's not defensively where there's an issue, or where you could see an issue if you were looking for one. It would be on the ball, starting things off, because I thought we moved the ball quite slowly. Again, when you've got loads of players behind the ball, it's not easy to break Palace down. I think their midfield in the first half was exceptional, made our midfield look terrible, and really when I say that, I am highlighting Enzo Fernandez. I thought he was poor. At the beginning of last season he was poor, but then he got a lot better, didn't he? You know, we ended up going to Panathinaikos, and it picked up. It did pick up. So this is not me slaying Fernandez, but let's not sit here and act like he was the Argentinian god that we always call him. He was pretty average, wasn't he? And maybe that's because he's had a rest. But everybody's had the same amount of game time apart from the newcomers. So I can't really justify why players like Caicedo look great and then make an excuse for Enzo Fernandez. So I leave that to you in the comments to decide for yourself. I think that André Santos, in my book, needs to start against West Ham. And the fact that they put a bid of 45 million for him as well, what better way to introduce yourself to the fans of East London than scoring? I mean, it'd be brilliant, but not for West Ham, obviously for us. We're not going to accept that bid. Realistically, if anyone's asking for my opinion on André Santos, 45 million, I honestly thought that was a fair offer, but in Chelsea's view, he's 80 million, 90 million, because we don't want to sell him. Jack Grealish wasn't worth 100 million when Aston Villa sold him, but to them, he was worth that. So as our third best midfielder, potentially going to climb the pecking order if Fernandez keeps playing the way he is, I don't think that we can value André Santos any lower than sort of the 80 million mark. And people will say I'm taking the mickey, but that's the honest truth. Let's talk about the striker, João Pedro. For me, he was given no service, no real service, and he was making moves, he was making runs, and he was trying to get involved, but it just wasn't that type of game. If I was to compare Delap and João Pedro off the top, Delap is the player that you want on the pitch when you're not playing well, who can still make things happen. Whereas when you're playing well, João Pedro just adds to the quality that you already have. So you see that link up that we saw in pre-season. We played pretty well in the Club World Cup as well. And then the first game that we actually look at and we go, oh, actually, we're pretty average today. I thought that Delap made a good impact. So I'm not sitting here saying he should start against West Ham, but I am saying that if Chelsea aren't playing well, and you want someone to be a little bit more of an individual at times, because that's what we need to just carry us on our back and get a goal, I think Delap fits that profile. We're never going to see Jackson again by the looks of it. It looks like he's going to be off to Newcastle. I mean, I saw the highlights of their game. They can't score any goals at the moment, so he's probably gone. And I'm pretty happy with the two options that we have. You know, they will score goals, they will get service, there will be other games when they perform. But in order for them to perform, they need the other players behind them to contribute as well. I thought Gittins was pretty average. I remember in pre-season I was in the shed end and people were laughing and clapping when he gave away the ball because it looked like he was dribbling, and he did dribble at times, no doubt about that, but he's very raw, okay? And ultimately what you can get away with pre-season, you can't get away with in a Premier League campaign. I don't want to make an opinion on Jamie Gittins just yet. I don't want to go there. I honestly want a couple of weeks. I need a couple of weeks to just see where we are. End of August, maybe midway through September, we can have more of an idea of where our players are at. Because there has to be an element of nerves as well. You're making your debut at Stamford Bridge. You're a big money signing. We paid a lot more for Jamie Gittins than what he's actually worth, because he's not worth 55 million, let's be honest. João Pedro is also not worth 60 million. But if it works, it works. Nobody's complaining about Fernandes and Caicedo. So let's not talk too much about the money. We inverted Cucurella today. We didn't invert on the right, which was surprising but refreshing. And we ended up seeing James trying to spring a lot of those passes through. A lot of chip balls, a lot of balls over, trying to create, because you didn't have Colwell pinging those passes in. And I don't think that it was a terrible thing. I think that James did well in terms of what he was trying to do. But if De Bruyne was a right back, then everyone would want players to do that in that position. Reece James, that's not his job. He's not there to create. He's not there to do Colwell's job. We either need another profile, or we need to adapt our system, or we need to integrate someone else. All right. And speaking to Don, I was sat next to him during the game. I mean, Tosin's a player that we know can play in that position. He might not even be available against West Ham. Fofana will probably get injured again after a couple of weeks. And then Badiashile, he likes a fast pass, but I've just never seen that consistency from Badiashile. I remember last season we wrote him off, and then he came on against Liverpool at Anfield, and he was unbelievable coming off the bench, Badiashile. But can you, hand on heart, say that he is going to be the player who's going to hold this defence together? But again, like when we criticise the defence, this is me being very nitpicky. I honestly think that it was okay. The defence wasn't the issue today. Defending. It was on the ball where we needed to be better, but that does start from the back. Robert Sanchez, no problems with him today. I know some people aren't happy with him. I personally didn't think he was that bad. I thought he made some good saves. He made a save from Mateta. I thought he claimed crosses well. He didn't drop any balls. A couple of chances where he tried to initiate counter-attacks and they worked. And there's a few times where it didn't. But, let's try and be a little bit empathetic. Let's have a bit of empathy. At times, you are going to make mistakes. The problem is that we've had with Sanchez is he always made mistakes. That wasn't the case today. No criticism really from me there. I thought Caicedo, pretty much same old. I thought he was great. He was blocking balls. He was stopping Palace from getting rhythm at times. I think if he didn't have a good game, we probably would have lost today. And that free kick from Eze, I mean, I don't really understand why it wasn't given. Something to do with Mark Guehi being too close to the wall. Is that a new rule? I don't even know. He was elbowing him or something like that. He was, I don't know. But hey, we were laughing. It was happy. It got the atmosphere up. It got us going, didn't it? And Pedro Neto, I think it was absolutely the right decision for Pedro Neto to start instead of Estevao. How can you knock a player who's been the best player in the Club World Cup, who's fantastic in pre-season in both games? How can you just drop him for the opening game because you've got a player that's getting a lot of hype? Show us why you're worth the hype, and then you can start ahead of Pedro Neto. Or to be quite frank, I mean, what we did is we ended up moving Neto to the other side, and then you play Estevao on the right because Gittins was underwhelming. So maybe that's something we'll see more of, but I do prefer Neto on the right, I have to be honest. Difficult to see what we're going to do. I don't really see many changes, to be honest with you. Maresca seems to be pretty stringent in terms of who he likes and who he doesn't want to give as many chances to. But I think that will change in the coming months. As soon as we start having Champions League football, he's going to be in a position where he's forced to rotate. And that's going to be the real sign for me of whether we can manage this squad, because we do have some injury-prone players, but we didn't really have anything to worry about. When you've got a first team and a second team and you can quite literally not take the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup seriously and still play a second side in the Conference League, it's different. All right, we need to compete in domestic competitions now. Champions League, you're obviously not going to rotate every single player. So that's something that I'm going to be very intrigued to see. Overall, if I was going to rate the performance out of 10, I'd probably give it a 6.5. I think that it was all right. I think it was okay. I don't think it was terrible. I don't think it was poor. We ultimately, I mean, if you look at the chance Estevao missed, we actually should have won the game. I could justify why we won the game because we created a very clear-cut chance. I can't criticise him too much either, though, because first of all, making your debut, you've got to be nervous. Nobody ever talks about the nerves. He's obviously nervous. And every other thing that he was doing was fantastic. You know, he was getting the crowd off their seats, and you always felt like something was going to happen when Estevao was on the ball. How many times did Madueke come off the bench last season and we said, Madueke, you are the saviour of Chelsea, please, I'm on my knees, Madueke. And he gives the ball away and he does a backward pass and you just think, whatever. Off to Arsenal, mate. Same as Esse, off to Tottenham. For me, Estevao is a clear upgrade on Madueke. He's a better player than Gittins. I think he's probably a better player than Neto, but in terms of the hierarchy, there has to be some sort of progression. You can't just go straight to the top. You know, he's a young player, needs to be integrated as well. There has to be some common sense here. I think he'll probably still be on the bench against West Ham, to be honest with you. But there will come a point in time where his quality, if he then finds that end product which he struggled with today, that it will be impossible not to start him. But I don't want to get dragged into this situation where we're reliant on an 18-year-old. That's not where we need to be. I say that, we were reliant on Palmer a few years ago, so maybe we just go back into that situation. But let me know what you think, guys, if you agree or disagree with anything I've said today. And listen, we'll catch up very soon.